My colleague Sreeja has been reporting extensively on the ground from Sri Lanka. In fact, she and our camera person were both tear-gassed by police today as they were covering the protests at the Prime Minister's office. She's been talking to a range of voices on the ground and has brought us these reports.
The protesters are now running toward Ranil Wickremesinghe's residence. In fact, this exactly was how we understand several of the protesters had managed to breach the heavily guarded presidential palace and the heavily guarded temple trees as well. But now what you witnessed on your screens is the protesters have breached the security at the moment. They have pushed the security forces. They are trying to enter Ranil's private residence. Water cannons have been brought to the location to ensure they can, force the protesters out of this very location. You can see thousands and thousands of protesters are now running toward Ranil Wickremesinghe's private burnt residence. What you see just ahead of me is the tear gas that's being shelled. Several protesters, in fact, questioning the fact how the government, or the military for that matter, allowed Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa to flee the country when they are the only and the sole reasons why they are out on the streets today. The crowd is swelling, and in fact this is the very crowd that we witnessed and saw that they were walking from the golf face, the Colombo, the epicenter of the anti-government protests. That's the exact place where we witnessed the Sri Lankan uprising on July 9th. Now they have managed to walk over 8 kilometers from Golf Face Green to this particular location. The crowd is swelling. In fact, these are frustrated anti-government protesters who for over 95 days they've been out in the streets, where the particular empty site, which is a ground which was dedicated by the government called the demonstration site, where the government was converted into Gota Gogama, which is today a village created by the citizens of Sri Lanka, which they dedicated that entire place to Sri Lankan citizens to ensure all those who want to voice against the government can come, stay there, build a tent, and voice against the government. So this is the cheering moment right now at the moment right now for those citizens. They're cheering the fact that they've managed to breach the security. You have the Air Force on ground, you have the police, you have several companies of the Special Task Force who are all in fact deployed at this point in time to ensure that there's no untoward incidents. But we see it's a similar situation that we witnessed on the 9th of July as well. Citizens managed to breach the security. They've gone way past all the barricades that have been placed by the police at the moment. We're walking along with the protesters. Now they've crossed this main junction. Now to your right, what you see just in the front ahead of me is Ranil Wickremesinghe's residence that was burnt down by the protesters on the 9th of July. There's massive tear gas shelling going on right outside Ranil Wickremesinghe's office on Flower Road here in Colombo in Sri Lanka. And the public, the common man, they're running helter-skelter for a cover. You see, Ranil Wickremesinghe has managed to get security forces. In fact, it's been a very, very difficult situation, even for us, where we are on an assignment out here covering the Sri Lankan uprising, where after realizing and learning of the incident that Ranil Wickremesinghe is the acting president, we have onto my right, you see Several people have been injured in the tear gas incident. They're choking. People are helping each other. Now those are the scenes that we're witnessing at the moment, and yet the citizens are relentless. They are running once again. They're running once again toward the security forces. They're running toward Ranil Wickremesinghe's residence. Now this is what we are witnessing on ground outside Ranil Wickremesinghe's office. In fact, people are not moving. In fact, crowd is only swelling despite the tear gas shelling, despite water cannons being sprayed, despite, in fact, shooting in the air, firing in the air. Despite that, we see several people have been tear gassed with, and these army has been brought in. They have formed a human chain. In fact, people are not going anywhere. People say that they will remain here strong. They'll stay put. They will ensure that, according to them, they will lay siege inside this Ranil's office. And once they do so, and because they always wanted Ranil also to leave the post, leave his position. But now, when he had already offered, to step down as the Prime Minister, he's already taken over as the acting president, which even as the Sri Lankan citizens don't want it. You have the special task force lined up. More number of force is being pumped right now. This is the anger. You can also see a citizen, in fact, a citizen is asking a special task force police officers if they have been injured in this incident, because that's the kind of humanity you're witnessing here on ground, where, the security forces themselves have been going all out, resorting to tear gas, water cannons, and also, in fact, firing in the air. They've been resorting to all sort of tactics in the book to ensure that they can disperse the crowd outside Ranil Wickremesinghe's residence. Now, we also did see how one particular citizen was actually trying to help even a special task officer, that if he has been injured in the tear gas incident. Now, that is the kind of humanity you're witnessing on ground amongst the Sri Lankan citizens. They've all come together. The unison you can see, that's something one cannot, of course, ignore. It's definitely what you witness here is a standoff. It's a face-off between the citizens. It's a face-off between the army, the special task force, and also including the Air Force. And it's been over 2 to 3 hours now. Tear gas shelling has been going on. There's no stop to it at the moment. People have sensed that Ranil is already inside and that they want to break open the gates. And that's what you're witnessing right on there. If I could ask my camera person to pan and show you a larger view. In fact, we're going through the security forces to show you more and bring you more visuals. And in fact, several of the media persons, several of them, the local media journalists, international media journalists covering the Sri Lankan uprising, several of them have been injured in this incident. They are also amongst the protesters, where they're covering, while the protesters, on the other hand, demanding that Ranil must go home. The protesters are not going to leave this place. They will continue because there's a huge, large crowd that's gathered there. This is the long shot that we're showing you. There's a long shot that we're bringing to you. This, on to my left, is the Ranil's entrance, the main entrance. They have all gathered. They're trying to push and break open the gates. And of course, the security, forces have really, the numbers have come down, who were the strong forces who were standing, where they had formed a human chain, that those numbers have come down. And you have people, in fact, shouting slogans in support of the Sri Lankans themselves, calling for victory. They are calling for Ranil's resignation. They're calling for Gotabaya's resignation. They will not move out of this location until they hear that Ranil is not going to rule Sri Lanka anymore. Several hours of the standoff in, right outside Ranil's office on Flower Road here in Colombo between the protesters and all the security forces, that is the Army, Air Force, Sri Lankan police, including the Special Task Force. Now the protesters have once again managed to breach the heavily guarded Prime Minister's office, Ranil. They have all, in fact, breached the security. They've managed to enter. Now this is yet another political structure, the fourth political structure that's become a tourist spot. Did you step inside Ranil's office?
Yeah. After the 1948, we hoped we get the independence, but this is our actual independence after 74 years. That Aragaleta, Jai Viva!
According to protesters, what they claim, this is their independence and this is their freedom. They call this their victory. What's next? It's still unclear. In Colombo, with camera person Kumar, Sreeja for NDTV.